family. I am Prophet Jonathan Bridges, and welcome to Building Bridges, where not only we desire to build people, but to build myself in the things of Yahweh, and to make bridges or connections to people all over the world with the same like mind. Well, today you're in for a treat, and the reason why I say it's a treat is that the devil tried to stop us. Come on here, on episode 4, we've literally done this whole episode already, and the devil tried to stop us and didn't get but 15 minutes of this recording. But the devil, you are a liar, and Yahweh, you are victorious, because we know you got our back. So here we go. We finna go the second time. Come on here. All right. Again, live, not live online, but live in front of a studio audience. The audience is my wife, who always sits with me. Y'all hear the applause. Y'all hear it. Come on here. We got plenty of energy in this demonstration today. Today's message is Back in the Day. This was a song by Ahmad Lewis back in 1994. This message was inspired, if not influenced, by this song. It was released by Ahmad Lewis when he was only 18 years old. The song is a nostalgic remembrance of childhood and teenage years from a somewhat jaded adult perspective. And if y'all remember how the song went, it went, back in the day when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore, but some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore, but some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. I remember way back when. I remember way back when. When? Back in the days. When? Back in the days. Y'all remember that song? So that was the inspiration of this song today. So it was talking about something nostalgic, right? Come on here. Some nostalgia. And nostalgic, by definition, is a sentimental yearning for happiness felt in a former place, time, or situation. So something nostalgic, examples like y'all remember break dancing, y'all remember pop locking. Come on here, ladies, y'all remember jumping double dutch. Y'all remember when Slick Rick used to do lottie dottie, we like to party. Y'all remember those days. Y'all guys, y'all remember putting the milk crates on the poles so y'all could shoot y'all little basketball. And y'all remember the days when you used to sit out with your homies, your friends, your girls, sit out on the porch all night, just sit up, just kicking the willy bobos and chopping it up. That's nostalgia. There's nothing wrong with that, because that's recalling something from the past that was positive, that's good. But where it becomes a problem is when it comes this term called cognitive immobility. Cognitive immobility, by definition, is when you're mentally trapped in a place from your past. All right, so this is the two different thought processes that I'm comparing today. And as a foundational scripture where we're going to start today, we're going to start in the book of Luke, chapter 17, verses 20 through 33. And I'm going to read all the way through this. Again, just to lay down a foundation of where we're going with this message. Okay. Luke 17, verse 20. And when he was demanded of the Pharisees when the kingdom of Yahweh should come, he answered them and said, the kingdom of Yahweh cometh not with observation, neither shall they say, lo here, or lo there. For behold, the kingdom of Yahweh is within you. And he said unto the disciples, the days will come when ye shall desire to see one of the days of the Son of Man, and ye shall not see it. And they shall say unto you, see here, or see there. Go not after them, nor follow them. For as lightning that lighteneth out of the part under the heaven shineth unto the other part under the heaven, so shall also the Son of Man be in this day. But first must he suffer many things and be rejected of this generation. Watch this, verse 26. And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Now watch this also. Verse 28. Likewise, also as it was in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, and they planted, they builded. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. In that day, he which shall be upon the housetop and his stuff in the house, let him not come down to take it away. And he that is in the field, let him likewise not return. Verse 32, remember Lot's wife. Verse 33, whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life shall preserve it. So this foundation of scriptures right here, if you pay attention, Yeshua mentioned what? The days of Noah and the days of Lot. So everything he's talking about is what? Back in the day. Hence the title of this message today. So salvation didn't come to make us forget about our past, what this is telling us. Yeshua said to remember it, but don't get stuck back there. But it's interesting when you look at these scriptures, verse 32, he said, remember Lot's wife. This is the second shortest scripture in the whole Bible. The first shortest scripture, I know everybody know it, and I'm finna listen.
Jesus wept.
Jesus wept. I'm glad my wife chimed in on that. I was throwing the spiritual eye out for my people, but bless my wife for being so smart and so intelligent. Jesus wept was the first shortest scripture of the Bible, but this is the second shortest scripture. He said all of that, what was about to take place, then he drops in this 3-word sentence in the scripture, remember Lot's wife. So let's look at that. Why did he say remember Lot's wife? This statement was strategically and incisively placed because if you think about it, there's more than 170 women who are identified in the Bible, but he tells us to remember this one. Well, let's look at this. The word remember there is a Greek word that means not only to exercise memory, but it means to rehearse, right? Rehearse means to practice for later performance. So in other words, he's saying, remember where you were for the purpose of knowing how to conduct yourself in public. You know, when you rehearse something, you rehearse it in private, correct? For the purpose of ironing it out, getting all the kinks out of it so that when you get ready to go do your performance on stage, like getting ready for a play, you present the best possible performance that you can. So the way you perform now should positively motivate the way that you're going to perform. You see what I'm saying? So the way you perform now should be positively motivated by the way that you performed when back in the day. You with me? All right. So he said to remember Lot's wife. So we're going to drop down into Genesis, and you'll find in Genesis during this time, Abraham and Lot separated themselves, if anybody remembers that in the scripture. And Abraham gave Lot the option to choose whichever land that he wanted, right? He was so humble that he gave him the first pickings, because Abraham knew at the end of the day, like I did, that's a whole nother message that I'm probably going to get into later, that Yahweh had his back. Come on here. So he allowed him to choose his land first. So you had to know that Lot was sitting there saying like, you sure about that? You sure about that? Because you know I'm finna go hard in the paint on what I'm finna pick. So of course, when we look at the scriptures, we'll find out that he chose Jordan. It was so lush. It was so plentiful. Everything was well watered, and there was plenty of land for the animals to graze. But how many of us know that what looks good ain't always good for you? Think about that. All right. So let's move forward. So we're going to move into the book of Genesis, chapter 19, verses 15 through 17. And from there, we're going to stay in chapter 19 and drop down to 24 through 26. Okay? Genesis 19 and 15. This is about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And what I want you to realize is that Sodom and Gomorrah represents a season in our lives. Well, you may ask, how does it represent a season in our lives? Think about it. Sodom and Gomorrah was a defiled place. There was a lot of unrighteous things going on there. There was a lot of evil things. Well, you may say to yourself, well, I ain't wrapped up in anything like that. Sodom and Gomorrah is more of a representation of the negative place that you were in your life, whatever it may be. Think about it. None of us are perfect. There was something that was in your past that was negative that you was a part of. So Sodom and Gomorrah represents that season that you was in. Okay? Genesis 19 and 15. And I'm going to look at these scripture by scripture. So 15 says, and when the morning rose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, arise, take thy wife and thy two daughters, which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. So let's look at verse 15 here. Sometimes the Father is going to hasten you in your life. Why? Because he wants to move you away from what you was part of and get you out of that. In other words, a lot of times we're connected to things that the Father don't want us to be a part of anymore. You're connected to something that eventually is going to get ready to come to an end. And this is what Yahweh is going to hurry us out of. You know in yourself that you need to disconnect yourself from it. Why? Because you'll get what a lot of us refer to as this gut feeling. And that gut feeling ain't nothing but the spirit man talking to you saying, hey, it's something about this place and this time that ain't right. How many of us have been there that we was like, I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to be a part of this no more. I don't fit into this anymore. That's the spirit man. Come on here. The spirit man connected to the Father's spirit, and he's trying to hurry you up out of something. Your spirit man saying it's time to go. Is that all right? So he hastened them up out of that. So let's move forward. Verse 16, it says, and while he lingered, the men being the angels, right, laid a hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his two daughters, Yahweh being merciful unto him, and they brought him forth and set him without the city. Now let's look at this scripture. It said, while he lingered, come on here, lingered, there is a Hebrew word that means to question or hesitate. How many of us, when the Father starts to rush us and push us up out of something, we pause and we hesitate and we question things of Yahweh? we hesitate, we slow down. And what you got to understand is when you're in this position where you hesitate, what has to come to your mind is one of my favorite people, and my wife knows about it, is the prophet Elijah. Elijah said in the book of Kings, when he was getting ready to go to throw them hands with the prophets of Baal, how long halt ye between two opinions? He was speaking to the people. And when you look at that scripture, opinions right there is not the opinions like you think it is. Opinions is a word that means divided in mind. There it is. It means to be divided in mind. So what Elijah was saying to him is like, how long are you going to be divided in your mind? So when we question and we hasten, we hesitate in the things of Yahweh, how long are you going to be divided in your mind? And when you're divided in your mind, that means that you are double-minded. And what did the scriptures say to us? A double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. So when you're in this place, you have to choose between trusting something that you're in, trusting something that you're used to, something that you're comfortable with, and trusting Yahweh. Throughout this message, y'all going to see me constantly make body positions like this because I'm trying to get your mind to move from one position to another. Is that all right? So he questioned and he hesitated. But look at this. Look how good the Father is. Oh, yeah. It says the angels laid hold upon his hand. Hand right there is a Hebrew word, yod, which means direction. So when you hesitate and question things of the Father will grab hold of your hand, in other words, your directions, to change the direction or the trajectory of where your life was headed. Where you was headed over here to the left, the Father's going to grab your hand and pull you into another direction. And not only did it say that he grabbed his hand, it said that he grabbed his wife's hand. He grabbed his two daughters' hands. Well, you may ask yourself, well, why would he do that if I'm headed in that direction? It says it later in that scripture, Yahweh being merciful unto him. That's Yahweh's mercy. When you in that indecisive place, Yahweh's mercy will come along and help you to change directions. Is that all right? Yeah, buddy. Bless the Father. So he wants us to change directions. So it says not only change directions, it said they brought him forth, which means direction was changed, right? And set him without the city. Set right there is the Hebrew word that means deposit. Oh, here it is. This is getting juicy. as Pastor Ewan was saying in one of his messages, y'all check him out. That brother is, whoo, he deep. But this is getting juicy. So he's going to deposit you. So when we think about to deposit, we're thinking about what? A bank. And what we're talking about here is the bank of your mind. So he's going to make a withdrawal from your negative mindset or your mind that's in Sodom and Gomorrah and deposit it outside of where it was. Oh, ain't that good? So he's going to withdraw from here and deposit from here. And what it say? Not only is he going to deposit you there, it said he set him without the city. So without there is a Hebrew word that means to sever. So not only is he going to withdraw you and deposit you in another spot, he's going to sever that spot in between. And not only is he going to sever that spot, he's also going to create a wall in between those two things. Is that all right? So the Father wants us to change our direction. He wants us to come out of where we are right up in there. Let's move on. Verse 17. And it came to pass when they had brought them forth abroad that he said, escape for thy life. Now here's the instructions. Look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain. Escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. This verse right here, if you pay attention to it, Yahweh will hurry you out of that spot. Like I said, he's going, because of his mercy, he'll pull you out of that spot, put you in another place to get you out of immediate danger. But look at this. He told, the angels told him, neither stay thou in the open plain. So what the Father does is when he moves you from one spot to another that pulls you out of immediate danger, he's not only saying to move to this spot, but he wants you to keep moving. He told them to escape to the mountains lest they be consumed. So he wants you to move from one spot to another spot. And when you get to that spot, move to another spot. And when you get to that spot, move to another spot. This makes me think about a term called capillary attraction. I told you the Spirit got this one today, baby. Capillary attraction, not to get too scientifical into it, but think about a windshield of a car. With capillary attraction, what happens is when you have one raindrop on a windshield and another raindrop next to it, what happens is that they magnetize to each other. Have you ever saw that before? So the Father, he wants to separate us and create a wall between those things, and not only put a wall between it, he wants us to put distance between it. In other words, if we stay where we are in that one spot that he moved us to, what's going to happen is going to magnetize us back to that situation. Come on here. Even y'all know that Jed's kinfolks told him to move away from there. And for y'all, you know, that used to be into them shows back in the day, that was a reference from the Beverly Hillbillies. Come on, y'all remember the song? Got it on my phone right here. Come and listen to a story about a man named Jed. A poor mountaineer barely kept his family fed. Then one day he was looking for some food. Nut come the ground was a bubbling crude. Oil, that is. Black gold. Texas tea. Well, first thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. His kinfolk said, Jed, move away from there. So they said California is the place I ought to be. So they packed up the truck and they moved to Beverly Hills, that is. Swimming pools, movie stars. So even Jed's kinfolks had enough sense to say, move away from there. So when Yahweh puts you from one spot to another, keep moving. When you get to that spot, keep moving. Is that all right? So let's drop on down now. So verse 24 now, still in the same chapter. Then Yahweh rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from Yahweh out of heaven. 25. And he overthrew those cities. Look at this. In all the plains. Remember that? I said that earlier. He took them out of that spot according to the scriptures, and he set them without the city. And the angels told him, don't look behind you, neither stay in that plain, escape to the mountains, right? It said in 25, he overthrew those cities and all the plains. So there it is. He's explaining to you, just like I said, the Yahweh move you from one spot to another. Is not for you to stay there. It's for you to keep moving. Move out of those plains. Jed, move away from there. And all the inhabitants of the city and that which grew upon the ground. He told that demonstration up. Come on here. Verse 26. But his wife, here we go, looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. Oh, my goodness. So here it is right here. So now she looked back. So I'm going to work this scripture in reverse. I figure it's only right that I work it in reverse. She did it in backwards. I'm going to do it backwards for the purpose of bringing it back forward. Is that all right? Let's do it then. It says she became a pillar of salt, right? So a pillar in the Hebrew word is a Hebrew word that means something stationary. So she became something stationary. In other words, something stagnant, or a statue, as it says by definition. And a statue, by a synonym of statue, is two words that I pulled out. There was a lot of meanings to this, but two words I pulled out. One is an effigy, and other is a representation. And an effigy of something is basically a mannequin. And what is a mannequin? A mannequin ain't nothing but a dummy. So she became an effigy, a statue, a dummy. Who else used to say dummy? Come on here. Old Fred G. Sanford, when he used to talk to Lamont Sanford, he used to say, what do you say? You big dummy. So in other words, what the scripture is saying to us, when you become stagnant and stuck in a spot, you become a big dummy. Lot's wife became a big dummy. This is the reason why Yeshua said to us, remember Lot's wife? 3 words. Remember Lot's wife. She was a big dummy. After all of what the Father did, he hurried you. He grabbed your hand, changed your direction, put you outside the city, told you to keep moving. But you decided, let me look back at it one more time. And you a big dummy at the end of the day. But look at that. So she became a representation of something. In other words, Lot's wife became a paradigm. And a paradigm is an example of something. So she became an example of what happens when you look back. Right? So she's a paradigm. We work in this scripture in reverse. So let's look at wife here. His wife. Let's look at his wife. She looked back, right? From what? From behind him. So there's 2 things we know about his wife at this present moment by looking at the scriptures at this point. 1, she was entangled. In other words, her attachment to her past outweighed her commitment to her future. Let's say it for ourselves. Our attachment to our past outweighs our commitment to our future. In other words, that means that we're stuck in something. So what does that mean? You got to ask yourself, what are you stuck in? Are you stuck in discouragement? Are you stuck in disappointment, offense, bitterness, disillusionment, unforgiveness? Are you fixated on something that's in your past? That means that you stuck in something. And for my people that's in ministry, do you feel like you stuck in ministry? Why? It's because you're just drifting. Here goes something new, baby. I'm dropping it in. When you're stuck in ministry, that means that you're drifting. Wood drifts along in water. In other words, when the water moves, it pushes the wood wherever it wants to push it. So the lesson here is the way to drift. All you have to do is nothing. Wood can't do nothing. It can't swim. It can't dive underwater. It can't reach his hand out and say, pull me out of the water. She was stuck just drifting. And that's what a lot of us doing, that we're drifting. So she's entangled in something, right? So this is the one thing that we know about her. The second thing about her, we just overemphasized it. She did not value her deliverance. Think about that. All of what Yahweh was trying to do. He destroyed that whole city. Come on here. Destroyed the lots and everything that grew upon the ground. Come on here. Think about that. She did not value her deliverance. That's heavy. Remember Lot's wife? That's what Yeshua said, right? Still working this in reverse. Here's another way to look at that scripture. It says that she looked from behind him.